Welcome back to Anne of Green Gables, a read aloud. This is chapters 9 and 10. Chapter 9. Anne and Diana were the best of friends again. They walked to school together each day, talking all the way. They signaled to each other with candles from their bedroom windows at night. They shared secrets and adventures, and they even formed a story club with the other girls at school. Spring came to Avonlea, sweet and fresh. Summer soon followed, with mellow sunshine and lazy shadows, and Anne got into another scrape when she was dared to climb up and walk the length of Diana's kitchen roof. It was a matter of honor, so of course she had to try, and then of course she fell off. Her ankle was broken, and Anne spent the rest of the summer hopping around. Before long it was autumn again. In the mornings Anne and Diana ran through rustling leaves on their way to school, and one misty moonlight night they convinced each other that the spruce grove was haunted, frightening themselves so much that they could no longer bring themselves to walk there alone after twilight. "Such a lot of nonsense," tutted Marilla. Winter drew in with a frosty tang in the air. One night Anne interrupted dinner to confess that she had forgotten to cover the plum pudding the night before, and that a mouse had drowned in the sauce that they were about to eat. "But haven't you noticed the one encouraging thing about me?" Anne asked cheerfully as Marilla whisked the pudding away. "I never make the same mistake twice." Matthew listened, smiling. "Well now, I reckon it's going to be a pretty good concert, and you'll do your part fine." But at the same time he was thinking. He had noticed that there was something different about Anne. It took him 2 hours of pondering, but at last it came to him. Anne was not dressed like the other girls. Diana and the others wore pretty dresses in bright colors, but Anne's clothes were always plain and sensible. Marilla chose Anne's clothes, and, of course, she knew best. But surely it wouldn't do any harm for Anne to have one pretty dress she could wear to the concert. After all, Christmas was only a fortnight away, and a new dress would be the perfect present. Making up his mind, Matthew set out to the store, but he felt so bewildered that he found himself asking the young lady behind the counter for a garden rake, and then for some brown sugar. He left without any dress at all. What was to be done? He didn't want to ask Marilla for help, so finally he shuffled down the lane to see Rachel, feeling more embarrassed than ever. But Rachel understood immediately. "Pick out a pretty dress for you to give Anne?" "To be sure I will." "Well now, I'm much obliged," said Matthew, adding timidly, "I think they make the sleeves different nowadays. If it wouldn't be asking too much, I'd like them in a new way." "Puffs?" asked Rachel. "Of course. It'll be in the very latest fashion." Christmas morning broke on a beautiful white world. Snow had fallen softly in the night, and Anne ran downstairs calling, "Merry Christmas, Matthew! Merry Christmas, Marilla!" "Here's a present for you, Anne," said Matthew shyly, holding out the dress. It was silky and soft with dainty frills, but the sleeves were the best of all. 2 wonderful puffs. Anne's eyes filled with tears. "Why, Anne, don't you like it?" asked Matthew. "Like it? Oh, Matthew, it's perfectly exquisite. Look at those sleeves. I can never thank you enough." That night, Anne wore the dress to the concert and performed her speeches beautifully. Watching her, Marilla noticed how grown up she was becoming. She felt proud, and secretly, she thought Anne looked very nice in her new dress, even though she would never have admitted it. Chapter 10. For a few weeks after the concert, all was peaceful. Then one evening Marilla came home to find Anne lying face down on her bed in the dark. "Mercy on us!" she exclaimed. "Are you sick?" "No, but please go away and don't look at me," with the muffled reply. "I'm in the depths of despair." "Whatever is the matter with you?" demanded Marilla. "Get up right this minute." But Anne stayed where she was. "Look at my hair," she whispered. Marilla lifted her candle and stared at Anne's hair in horror. "What have you done? It's green!" "The dye said it would turn it a beautiful raven black," groaned Anne. "I thought nothing could be as bad as red hair, but this is 10 times worse." "Goodness knows what's to be done," exclaimed Marilla. "How many times have I told you? There's nothing wrong with red hair." "The first thing is to give it a good washing," But washing made no difference. "It's no use," said Marilla at last. "Your hair must be cut off. There is no other way." Anne's lips quivered. "Then please cut it all off at once and have it over with." Anne's short hair made a sensation in school the next day. Everyone stared. It was a great relief to Anne when her shorn hair began to grow back into silky curls that were darker than before. "Do you think my hair could be called auburn now?" Anne asked hopefully. "Yes, I think it is real pretty," said Diana. It was a midsummer afternoon, and the girls had gathered at the Lake of Shining Waters. They wanted to act out a tragic tale of fair ladies and noble knights from long ago. "Those days were so much more romantic," Anne sighed. Anne was to play the part of Elaine, the fair lily maid, drifting in a boat to the castle of Camelot. Ruby Gillis was to be King Arthur, Jane Andrews Queen Guinevere, and Diana Sir Lancelot. Every detail had to be perfect. They arranged a shawl in the bottom of the boat to be a cloth of gold, and Anne lay down on it with her eyes closed and a tall blue iris in her hands. When all was ready, the others pushed the boat off into the current and scampered through the woods to the bank, where they were to wait for the Lily Maid. For a few minutes, Anne enjoyed being all by herself, gliding slowly through the water. But then the boat began to leak. The Lily Maid had to scramble to her feet and wrench back the cloth of gold, revealing a crack in the bottom of the boat and water pouring through. Anne gave a horrified shriek. There was only one way she could save herself. As the boat passed the bridge, she flung the shawl over her shoulder and hurled herself out. Clinging tightly to the base of the bridge, she watched helplessly as the boat drifted away and sank. Ruby, Jane, and Diana saw the boat disappear and had not a doubt that Anne had gone down with it. Shrieking for help, they ran up through the woods, never pausing to glance back at the bridge. Anne clung on, looking down at the shadowy deep green water. What would happen if she could no longer hold on? Her imagination began to suggest all sorts of horrible possibilities. Then, just as she thought she couldn't stand another moment, someone came rowing under the bridge. Gilbert Blythe. "Anne Shirley," he exclaimed, "how on earth did you get there?" Without waiting for her to reply, he rowed over and extended a hand. Anne had no choice but to take it. She scrambled into his boat, where she sat in the stern, bedraggled and furious. "Will you be kind enough to row me to shore?" she asked, with all the dignity she could manage. As soon as they reached the bank, Anne jumped out. "I'm very much obliged to you," she said haughtily, turning away. "Look here, Anne, can't we be friends?" asked Gilbert. "I'm awfully sorry I made fun of your hair that time. I didn't mean to offend you." Anne hesitated. Her heart gave a quick, strange little beat. But then the scene from 2 years ago flashed back. He had disgraced her in front of the whole school. She would never forgive him. "No, I shall never be friends with you, Gilbert Blythe." Gilbert's face turned an angry red. "I'll never ask you to be friends again, Anne Shirley." He rowed away with swift strokes as Anne marched up the path, very damp, but with her head held high. Ready for 2 more? Chapters 9 and 10. What very special thing does Matthew do for Anne in chapter 9? Why is it so special? You got it. In chapter 10, do you think any good came from her dyeing her red hair green? We know it sounds silly, but did any good come from it? Did she learn a lesson from dyeing her hair green? Great job. Keep thinking about it.